Hey YouTube, it's Grace, and this week we are on number 4 of 20 of the new Minecraft paintings. This one was a nice change of pace because it was like a landscape scenery type painting, and I definitely had fun with it and I love how it turned out. Don't forget, as always, I have tutorials / guides that you can get on my Etsy shop for every single painting I've made in this series so far. Of course, never any pressure to buy anything from me, but if you would like to download these and follow along to make these paintings for yourself, if you need something like a little bit more detailed and in-depth compared to this YouTube video, then those are there for you. But without further ado, let's get into it. This is the painting I'll be making this week, which is 64 by 64 pixels. And this is the canvas I'll be using, which is 20 by 20 inches. To find the size of each pixel, you take the 20 inches divided by 64 pixels, which I need a calculator for. We get 0.31, so about a third of an inch for each pixel. So I'm going to take this number and then I'm going to go over to my canvas and mark every 0.31 inches around all 4 sides, and then use my trusty ruler and a pencil to connect to those lines and make the grid. I just finished drawing out the grid and I think it's looking really nice. So the next step is adding a thin coat of clear primer just to seal in the pencil and prevent it from smearing later on. I just finished adding the primer, so I'm going to move on to the border, which I always do first, and if I'm looking closely you can see it's just black, so pretty simple. Did I finish painting the border? Yes. Did I get black paint on my white sock? Also yes. It's now the next morning and this is totally dry, so I'm going to move on to the actual painting. And for that, I'm starting with the sky, which I used these 2 colors to mix this. Here's how the sky turned out. The next thing I'll be painting is the water towards the bottom of the canvas, and there's also a bit of a waterfall here. As you can see, I think I'm going to be using like 3 different shades of blue for this, just kind of simplifying it into a dark, medium, and light. And here's how the water and the waterfall turned out. I think I've got a pretty decent percentage of the canvas filled, just considering this is one painting session. But here it is compared to the reference. I decided that filling in the brown pixels would be the next thing to do because it seems to be a lot of them and I think it'll just help me map out everything else. So excluding like the tree trunks, just the dirt pixels, I decided to do a dark, medium, and light just to keep it simple, just like what I did with the water. And to mix these 3, I used a combination of these 4, just different amounts for each color. I got a pretty good start on filling in the dirt, and then I also used a darker brown to fill in the tree trunks. I think I'm going to start filling in the greens on the trees just to help me kind of visualize the bigger picture better, because right now I can see the water, I can see the sky, but like this does not look like a landscape yet. I just mixed 3 different shades of green. I say mixed very loosely because the lightest one is literally just this. The other 2 I mixed with a combination of these 2, and then for the darkest one I also added a little bit of black. And here is the progress for this painting session. Took about 90 minutes, but I got a lot of the dirt and the trees blocked out, and I think it's really starting to come together. Okay, it's the next morning now, and I didn't film it, but last night I filled in some greens and tans for the sand and the grass. But I think I'm gonna move on to doing the clouds next, because if you look at the reference, it's pretty much just white and different shades of like a light grayish blue, so it looks pretty simple. Here's how the clouds turned out. I'm gonna do more shades of gray for the rocks now. So I'm kind of running out of available containers. This painting is kind of taking a lot of them, but I have a dark one and a light one, and then I'll probably mix them together to get a middle shade. I also ended up adding another shade of green for the grass in addition to the rocks. So here's my progress for this morning. I spent a little over an hour on it. I'm gonna take a break, but I'll probably come back later and do more. So I forgot to paint again last night, so that last clip you saw was actually taken this morning, which I'm just mixing another darker shade of green for the grass. And the way that I mixed it is just by taking the medium shade and adding a tiny bit of dark brown to it. But I'm thinking I might be able to finish the first coat of paint today. I'm gonna try my best, but also my area has some really exciting weather today, and I'm a little bit of a weather geek, so I might be out watching it instead. The next color I mixed is this greenish brown, which you can probably guess that I just mixed with green and these two browns. I did kind of a bad job at filming this next step, but basically all I did was go in and fill in the random pixels that I missed throughout the canvas. So now all I have left to do is this bottom section here, which is like the beach or the sand area and the pig. And I've already done the lightest color here, so I think I'm just gonna do 2, maybe 3 other shades of darker ones. I did it! The first coat is done. The pig was actually really simple. It was just a few different shades of pink. But now that the first coat is done, I really get to bring this thing to life with the second coat and the details. As you can see, this painting desperately needs a second coat, especially in the trees and the water. I'm going to be keeping most of the colors the same and just cleaning up the lines and making everything more opaque, starting with the sky. Here's how the second coat looks done. As you can see, some of the blues and then the greens I used in the trees might need a third coat. I'm kind of hesitant to add too many layers with the greens though, because for some reason with my darker greens, it's like, it looks like this, but then the more coats I pile on top of it, it just gets darker, but still doesn't get more like opaque. It just turns black. It's so weird. So I might do some trial and error for that, but otherwise I think everything's looking a lot more clean and opaque. I made sure to do the border last, that way the inside line could stay as clean as possible. So I'm gonna let this totally dry and then come back and do maybe a little bit of detailing and some experiments with the trees, and then hopefully we should be almost done. I think I fixed the trees. I didn't really film much because I was like very focused, but basically all I did was add a little bit of white to each of the colors and then add a really thick coat of paint of all 3 of them, and I think it turned out looking pretty good. The colors are more opaque. These little spots in the sky are just wet, they haven't dried yet, but I accidentally like got paint on the side of my hand and then touched it, and so I'm just fixing that. But once this is all dry, then I'll go back in and add a few more details and we should be done. For the first set of details I'll be adding, I'm just gonna add a tiny bit of variation to the sky. So I'm gonna take this blue color, maybe make it a tiny bit darker and more saturated, just so that it's barely noticeable, and then add some like random pixels throughout. So I added a blending color in the clouds just by mixing these 2 colors, and then you can kind of see the blending in the sky. It's a little more visible in person, but I wanted it to be very subtle. And next for the water, which I think is the last detail I'm really gonna add, I'm just going to mix the darkest and middle color to get a transition, and then kind of add some random pixels throughout here as well. And I think it's time for the grand reveal. Here it is! Even though the trees gave me a little bit of a headache on this painting, I think it was worth it. I pulled through, toughed it out, and I really love how this painting looks. Like, it actually looks like a scene from the game. Here is a close-up of the painting, so you can see those details in the sky a little bit better, and all of the details everywhere else a bit closer up. And here's how it looks from a little bit further back, so you can see the big picture. If you would like to see a higher quality photo of this painting I just made, I have it up on my Instagram, notgracelive, in addition to a bunch of my other art if you would like to check that out. But before I end this video, I do want to address one thing, which is I got a couple comments on TikTok recently asking, like, how do I buy these paintings? So I just wanted to, like, clarify. I'm not currently doing commissions. I am getting through this whole series before I open those up, and I'm not able to mass produce anything or do prints of these designs because of copyright reasons. Obviously Mojang owns these designs. I'm just recreating them for fun, and I don't have enough room in my house to store 50 Minecraft paintings, so I want to give them away to all of you but also be reimbursed for the many hours I'm putting into these. And lastly, if you are interested in buying one, make sure to follow my Instagram because I post photos of the finished paintings once I finish them, and then basically whoever's interested in buying it just DMs me. It's very casual. I take payments on PayPal or Venmo. I used to use Etsy, but they raised their fees so much it's just not really worth it for me to use Etsy anymore for large sales, so I just do the painting guides on there. But anyways, that's just about it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll hopefully see you in my next one.